At work, another great Friday underway. Good to have you along. I'm Michael Bryant. Thanks for being with us. Going to bring all the latest trial news today, as we always do. We'll have updates for you from the missing mom murder trial against defendant Michelle Troconis, the New Hampshire trial against Adam Montgomery. This is a guy accused of murdering his daughter, Harmony Montgomery, and the racketeering trial against Young Thug and the remaining co-defendants. But first, let's head on out to Fulton County, Georgia, for day 2 of the testimony in the hearing to remove the Fulton County District Attorney from the Donald Trump election interference trial. I got to tell you something real quick here. Just indulge me. I had a chance yesterday to spin the dial a little bit. Remember when TVs had dials? You don't have the general contractor build your house and then have the plumber just show up and fix the plumbing. When you look at the other networks covering this stuff, there's a reason you go where the people know what they're doing, and it's a very specialized process. And we have some tremendous people here that work hard to bring you this coverage. I'm just proud to leave a very small touch of DNA here on the desk each week. But I just want to say that you got to go where the people know what they know. They know what they're doing. So anyway, Fani Willis, you remember her. Boy, quite the party yesterday. She's accused of engaging in a romantic relationship with the special prosecutor. That's Nathan Wade. She hires him for the case. Defense attorneys say that both she and Wade should be disqualified from being on the case allegedly because they lied about their personal relationship. So both Willis and Wade took the stand yesterday, and Willis insisted their relationship was not related to the case against Trump. Co-defendants for President Donald Trump have charged that back in August, he was plotting to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election, including participating in the scheme to disrupt the counting of the electoral votes in Georgia, in Fulton County. And of course, we know what happened in the U.S. Capitol. Now, there are 14 remaining defendants still expected to stand trial in March. We don't know what the heck's going to happen today, but we're catching you up on the testimony from Fani Willis's father, John Floyd III. Very different than he was in his Black Panther days in the 60s. Let's take you back into court. Listen to more of his testimony now.
So let's start in 2020. All right. So 2020, the entire year, did you travel anywhere?
No.
You didn't travel at all that year?
No. And I didn't go to the movies, which upset me also.
So that entire year, 2020, you remained here in Georgia?
Right.
In 2021, did you do any traveling?
No.
Okay. So when did you move back, or when did you start this documentary film in Los Angeles?
What I had been doing to occupy my time as I was writing my own memoir. As I delved into my family background, I discovered something, and that's what got me to working on the documentary. So I want you to understand what was going on in my life. I pitched I have a movie script called Bad Blood. I have a movie script I was trying to sell. So I tried to sell that, and I just happened to mention something that happened during the civil rights movement. The SNCC, it's called the SNCC 5. The legendary Peter Fitzsimmons was interested, and so with Peter Fitzsimmons and Leah Smith, we're now doing the documentary. So
I don't want to interrupt you, but what I was asking was when you moved to Los Angeles, not what you moved there for.
You keep saying moved. I haven't moved to Los Angeles. I spent more time in California, in Oakland, if you really want to just be, because Peter is basically San Francisco based. So we're working on the documentary.
Okay.
I was in Los Angeles because I was going to the Pan-African Film Festival, and that's why we were there. And the way Hollywood works is, you know, when you make connections, and film festivals are a place to try to sell ideas and meet people and organize things.
You still own property in Washington, D.C., correct?
No, I don't.
You don't own property at 1467 Roxana Road Northwest?
That's where I used to live.
That's where you used to live. Did you own that property?
Yes.
Okay. And you owned that property when you moved here in 2019?
Yes.
And you owned it in 2020, correct?
Well, now you talk about a very complicated issue. I left the property. There was a dispute between me and I had gotten a reverse mortgage company, and there was a dispute between me and that, and I just I walked away from it.
Okay, you walked away from it with almost $300,000.
Yeah, what is the relevance of that?
Where he lived and registered to vote. That's what they brought in. So that's.
Why is the money he got from a sale relevant at all?
It's the only proof I have of that he owned that address. So I can move on though. Okay. When did you sell that property?
I didn't. The reverse mortgage company took it.
Oh, okay. So in 2019, when you got your driver's license here,
yes,
the next day you registered to vote, correct?
I think it may have been the same day, but maybe it was the next day. I don't remember.
But you didn't own property here in Georgia that day?
No, I was living with my daughter.
Let's see. You said that you met Mr. Wade, that you remember you met in 2023, right? That was the first time you remember? Okay. And I wasn't really clear. You said something about meeting him. Was it with Mr. Isikoff, or did Mr. Isikoff tell you?
No, I was being interviewed by Mr. Isikoff.
Okay.
And he walked in, and I met him. That was the first time. He walked into the office. And
where were you being interviewed?
At the district attorney's office.
And Mr. Wade walked into that interview?
Yes.
And so Ms. Willis had not told you about Mr. Wade prior to that?
Absolutely not.
So she didn't tell you anything about their relationship before you met him that day?
No.
But Mr. Wade remembers meeting you in 2020?
He said that at my daughter's swearing in. I do remember that we having some banner about fraternities, but other than that.
Oh, at your daughter's swearing in, okay.
Right.
That's all I have. Just one moment, Judge. Nothing else. Thank you.
Morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you, counsel?
I'm fine. I'll try to ask you some specific questions if we could, okay?
And I'll give specific answers if I can.
Perfect.
Okay.
The driver's license address, I'm not going to publish. That is State's Exhibit number 2. But is the address on that driver's license the home that you're referring to as your daughter's in South Fulton?
Absolutely.
Okay. And it was unclear to me, maybe no one else, but it's unclear to me, when did you stop living at what I would call your daughter's home in South Fulton?
Things got so bad and threats got so many, even against me, that the house became basically uninhabitable. You know, I got tired of sleeping in one room one day and no one that. I would say December of 2022, something like that.
December of 2022.
Right. That's about right. Yeah.
Now, let me change and go back for another date. You had indicated, and I didn't hear it, when was your daughter, Miss Willis, when was she sworn in as district attorney?
On January 1, 2021.
Okay. And did you indicate that there was an incident, and I know you've described it, was that incident on February the 3rd, 2021?
That's my best recollection.
Okay. So my question then is, after February 3rd of 2021, how much longer did Miss Willis stay at the house before she moved somewhere else?
Very short period of time, and I cannot be precise, but I would bet all the money I ever made, it wasn't more than a month and a half, if that long.
Okay, so we're talking about, best of your recollection, end of February into the beginning of March, give or take, of 2021, when Miss Willis would have moved to a different location.
Exactly.
Okay. And did Miss Willis return to the house, that is, the house that you were in, at any point in time that you can remember?
From time to time, she and her security might show up for her to pick something up or take something or something, okay. But she always would come with her security.
Okay. My question was poorly worded, I apologize. Did she come back permanently to her house?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
So as far as you're aware, that once Ms. Willis left the house, her house, South Fulton house, so the record's clear, in either late February or into March of 2021, best of your recollection, she's not returned to that home to live.
No, it became uninhabitable. I mean, it just, I mean,
that's okay.
I would have to walk around that house looking out of every window. I made a habit of having to walk around the whole house. I got lights so that if somebody would come at night in the back, so that those kinds of reflecting lights, I had those put up.
I don't understand.
Yeah, okay.
All I was interested in is whether she had ever returned.
No, the answer is no.
Okay. Now, when Miss Willis, when your daughter left the home, time period, end of February, beginning of March, give or take, 2021, do you know where she moved to?
No, and I didn't want to know. I intentionally did not want to know, because I was not, if somebody stuck a gun to my head and I could tell them, I wasn't going to tell them anyway. I'd have made up something, but I didn't want to know.
Okay, so would it be fair to say that if you didn't want to know, you never visited her at the place that she moved to?
Oh, I never did.
Never did?
Never did.
Okay. Do you know how long she stayed at the first place that she went to after she left her house before she moved to a second place?
What I know, and this is hearsay, counsel, is that my daughter has had to move something like 4 times.
But do you know any potential?
No, I don't know any place. I was taken one time for Christmas Day. I've only seen my daughter, and this is very hard for me to say, but during the period my daughter left, I've only seen my daughter 13 times. Because I can't, and we've never seen each other more than maybe 3 hours because of, the nightmare threats against her and me.
And I understand that, and from the perspective of being a father myself, I understand what that means. So I'm going to move away from that. I was just trying to get an idea of date-wise, okay? So let me try to get one more date. In 2023, when you were being interviewed,
there's another entertaining witness in this matter. That is the father of Fani Willis. Again, I mentioned it going into the bit of the testimony there. He was a Black Panther back in the 60s. He mellowed quite a bit, but quite the character still. The question is, what is he bringing to this mix? Luckily, today, to help me sort this out, I have Natalie Whittingham-Burrell and Katherine Lizardo. Always good to have you folks. So let me ask you, Natalie, if I'm bringing this guy on the stand in a case in which the conduct of the DA is the central issue, what are we bringing him in for?
Well, that's the question that I have. What are we bringing him in for? Well, I think it would be either to confirm or deny some of the things that Fani Willis said, to see whether or not she was credible. And if she's not credible about some things, is she not credible about other things? I really think that that's what it's there for, corroboration one way or the other. When did she move out of his house or their house? Where was she? Who was she staying with? And then what type of inappropriate relationship? But I just don't know that her father would be the best person to testify to that, because even if you take the defense counsel's version of events as true, and you believe that she misappropriated funds in order to benefit her lover in the pursuit of the Trump case, who would tell their father that they're doing that? So I don't really know that he would be probative one way or the other, but he sure is entertaining to watch.
Yeah, here's where I think we might be going, and we'll see soon enough, but maybe he has some insight as to her various relationships, and obviously the specific relationship with Nathan Wade. If he had some interaction and could put a time on that, obviously that would be helpful, because we know that he was, Nathan Wade was hired November 1st of 2021. The battle lines are any physical relationship, or romantic, I guess we're calling it for the kids, happened after that. And if in fact it was before, then maybe there was this problem with hiring him to benefit from it, Fani Willis directly. So let me ask you, Katherine, I can't help but watch Dad and think of his daughter. He's certainly a likable guy, but I'm afraid to ask him what time it is, because he's going to tell me how to build a watch. This guy goes off, but that can be endearing to a jury, not so much to a judge. What do you think?
I agree. I found him endearing as I was listening to his testimony, and he provides a lot of information that would also be helpful for his daughter, understandably so. He gets to the point of why she moved out of the house and why he did not visit or know where she was or where she moved. Those were some of the questions that were asked of Ms. Willis when she was on the stand, and so they're trying to corroborate and confirm that with him. I anticipate we will also hear testimony as to why Fani Willis keeps a lot of cash at home and whether he actually told her to do that or taught that as a lesson. Honestly, for someone who grew up poor and from another country, that questioning did not make sense to me because, yes, it's a cultural thing for us too, and growing up with such a humble beginning, to keep cash at home. And so when they were, the lawyers, defense lawyers were questioning her, that I could not connect. But let's see what Mr. John Floyd will say.
Yeah, that's a good point, because there was testimony from Fani Willis that her dad, now on the stand, told her to keep 6 months of income handy in the house. That's old school and maybe somewhat legitimate, but it's important in this case to try and explain, why would somebody have so much cash laying around to reimburse Mr. Wade? That is a huge issue in this case. Let's take a break. We'll come back there on a lunch break, but we got some catching up to do with the father of Fani Willis, and we'll do that when we come right back.